Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. So many of us feel, well, stuck sometimes. Stuck in patterns we really want to change. Maybe it's shedding an old habit that's just not helping, or trying to build something new and productive. It often feels like this constant fight, right? Just pure willpower. But what if there's another way? A way to reshape your actions by understanding how habits actually work.
That's exactly it. This deep dive, it's all about using how our brains are actually wired. Leveraging that wiring to make self-improvement feel less like a struggle and, well, more inevitable, really. We're going to look at identifying and then taking apart those triggers for unwanted actions, how to make negative behaviors less appealing, and yeah, what to do when you slip up, because you will. Get ready to get some real practical leverage over your own daily patterns.
Okay, let's dive in. We feel trapped in these automatic routines. When we're trying to shift things, where do we even begin?
It starts with something we often gloss over: awareness. Simple awareness. See, our brains are prediction machines. They're constantly using cues from, everything around us to figure out what to do next. And over time, behaviors just become automatic, seamless. We don't think about them.
Right, like driving a car sometimes. You just do it.
Exactly. And that automation is efficient. It's great for some things, but it can lead to this real lack of self-awareness about our habits, the good and the bad. So the first step isn't fighting the habit itself, it's fighting the unconsciousness. It's about seeing what your brain is doing on autopilot.
Okay, so if our brains are so good at hiding these things, how do we actually, see them? How do we bring them out into the open?
There are some simple but pretty powerful techniques. One you might have heard of is the habits scorecard. It's basically writing down your habits. But its real power isn't just the list. It forces a conscious audit of your day. It breaks that automatic cycle.
Makes the invisible visible.
Precisely. And another one, maybe less intuitive, is called pointing and calling. Think about train conductors in Japan. They'll literally point at a signal and say out loud, "Signal is green," before they go.
Just saying it out loud. How does that
It forces engagement. It's not just seeing, it's doing, it's speaking, it's hearing. When you say, "I've got my keys, I've got my wallet," you're interrupting that unconscious pathway. You're bringing the action into your conscious mind. You can't do it mindlessly then. And we know visual cues are huge, just massive catalysts for behavior. Half our brain's resources might be tied up in vision.
Wow, half. That's incredible.
It is. So a small change in what you see can genuinely lead to a big shift in what you do, which means we can be designers of our own environments, fill them with good cues, and importantly, remove the bad ones.
That environmental point is fascinating. If our current space is just full of old triggers, does that mean it's actually easier to change if we go somewhere completely new? Change the context?
Often, yes, absolutely. Habits can be way easier to change in a new environment. You literally escape the subtle nudges that push you towards your old ways. Think about that striking example of Vietnam War soldiers who used heroin.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
When they came home, the environment was totally different. None of the cues associated with their addiction were there, and something like 9 out of 10 just stopped using almost overnight.
Just like that, because the context changed.
Exactly. The context changed, the habit changed. It shows it's much easier to link a new habit with a new context than fight the old cues in the old place. And it reveals something interesting. People with the best self-control, they might not have more willpower, they just structure their lives so they need to use it less often. They've built a disciplined environment.
Okay, so we've identified triggers, we understand the power of environment. What about making those unwanted habits just harder to do, making them feel like a chore?
Right, this is where we flip that make it easy rule on its head. For bad habits, we want to make them difficult. And a really effective way to do this is using something called a commitment device.
A commitment device?
Yeah.
Sounds serious.
It's basically a choice you make right now that locks in your behavior later. It binds you to the good habits and restricts you from the bad ones. You're essentially outsmarting your future self, who might be tempted to slip.
Binding your future self. I like that framing. Can you give an example, maybe one that really shows the principle?
Sure. The classic story is Victor Hugo. He had a deadline for The Hunchback of Notre Dame. To force himself to write, he apparently had his assistant lock away all his clothes, everything except this big shawl.
No way, seriously.
Seriously. So he couldn't really go outside comfortably. He was basically stuck in his study, and he just wrote furiously. He made going out difficult, so staying in and writing became the path of least resistance. The book got done early.
That is extreme. I can just picture trying that. Probably wouldn't work for my laundry pile. But it makes the point crystal clear. How do we apply that idea, that friction, in our normal lives without locking away our clothes?
It's all about adding small points of friction, strategically. Want to drink less soda? Don't keep it right at the front of the fridge. Hide it in the back or maybe upstairs. Want to waste less time on social media? Delete the apps from your phone's home screen or delete them entirely for a while. Even that tiny bit of extra effort needed to reinstall it or search for it can be enough to stop you in that moment.
That little pause makes the difference.
Exactly. And to take it further, you can automate things. Make good habits almost inevitable and bad habits practically impossible.
Automate. How does that work for behavior beyond just, like, setting a reminder?
Think about the invention of the cash register. It wasn't just about counting money, it automated ethical behavior, basically. It made skimming from the till much, much harder because it locked the cash away and created a record.
I see. So it changed the structure.
Right. For us, it means making these one-time choices that keep paying dividends without needing constant willpower. Things like setting up automatic transfers to your savings account. That's automation. Subscribing to a healthy meal delivery service automates good eating, reduces bad choices. Using a website blocker for distracting sites during work hours, that's automation locking and focus.
Technology can actually help here.
Absolutely. Imagine having a friend or assistant change your social media passwords every Monday morning and only give them back to you on Friday evening. You're logged out everywhere. The bad habit becomes impossible for most of the week, freeing up your time and attention. It's a powerful use of technology as a commitment device.
Okay, so we've made bad habits harder, built some walls, but our brains are still wired for that instant gratification, right? That immediate payoff. How do we make the bad choice feel bad right now, not just sometime down the road? Make it immediately unsatisfying.
Yeah, this is crucial. We need to hack that preference for immediate reward. There's a kind of cardinal rule of behavior change. What gets immediately rewarded gets repeated. What gets immediately punished gets avoided.
Simple but powerful.
Very. And the problem is, the cost of good habits is usually now the effort, the discomfort for a future benefit. The cost of bad habits is often delayed. Smoking, eating junk food, the real consequences are way off. We need to flip that. Bring the pain of the bad habit into the present moment.
Make the consequence immediate. How do we actually do that?
At an immediate cost, make it tangible. The most effective way is often a habit contract.
A habit contract, like a real contract.
Pretty much. It can be verbal or written. You clearly state your commitment to a habit or avoiding a bad one, and you state the specific, usually unpleasant punishment that happens immediately if you fail. Then, and this is key, you get 1 or 2 accountability partners, people who will actually hold you to it, who sign off on it with you.
Okay, accountability partners.
Nah.
That adds weight.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Got an example?
Yeah, there's a great one about an entrepreneur trying to lose weight. He set up a contract with his wife and his personal trainer. The terms were specific. Miss his nutrition goals. He had to pay his trainer $100. Forget to weigh himself. He had to give his wife $500 to spend however she wanted.
Ouch, that would hurt.
Right. And maybe the worst for him, as a big sports fan, if he skipped his sprints, he had to wear the hat of his most hated rival team to work for the entire rest of the quarter.
Oh no, the public shame.
Exactly. The consequence was immediate, tangible, local, visible to his colleagues, and pretty undesirable for him. The closer and more immediate the pain point, the more powerfully it influences your choices right now. It makes slipping up immediately dissatisfying.
That makes perfect sense. But, we're human. Even with contracts and friction and awareness, we mess up. We skip a day. What happens then? Is all that effort wasted? Do we just throw our hands up?
No, absolutely not. This is where understanding the process is so important. We need perspective. Think about something called the plateau of latent potential.
Okay, plateau of latent potential. Unpack that for us.
Imagine an ice cube in a room that's slowly warming up. It goes from, say, 25 degrees to 26, 30, 31. Nothing seems to be happening. All that energy is going in, but the ice cube is still ice. Your effort isn't wasted. It's being stored. It's building potential. Then, at 32 degrees, suddenly it melts. Breakthrough. From the outside, it might look like it happened overnight.
So the work was happening all along, just under the surface.
Exactly. So when you slip up, remember that plateau. The key isn't perfection, it's consistency. Getting back on track quickly.
So if we do miss a day, what's the number one rule? The most important thing to do?
Never miss twice.
Never miss twice, okay.
Missing once is an accident. It happens. Life gets in the way. Missing twice. That's the beginning of a new habit. The habit of not doing the thing you intended. Your goal isn't 0 misses. That's impossible. The goal is just to win most of the time. Think of every action you take as a vote. for the kind of person you want to be.
Oh, vote. I like that.
Yeah. Did you exercise today? That's a vote for being a fit person. Did you skip it? That's a vote the other way. You don't need a unanimous victory. You just need to win the majority of the votes over time to build that new identity. So even if you miss sometimes, keep casting those votes.
That's a really helpful frame.
Yeah.
But what about when it just gets boring? The initial excitement wears off and it feels like a total grind. That's often when I fall off.
Oh, that's a huge factor. And it's universal. Mastery in anything requires practice. And practice inevitably gets boring sometimes. Here's the thing. Successful people, they feel that boredom too. They feel the same lack of motivation everyone else does. The difference is they find a way to show up anyway.
They push through the boredom. How?
It relates to something called the Goldilocks rule. We stay motivated when we're working on tasks that are right at the edge of our current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy, just right.
Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Just manageable difficulty.
Exactly. That state of just manageable difficulty is where you find the sweet spot. You need enough success to feel satisfied, but enough challenge, enough wanting to stay engaged and desirous of improving. That helps combat the boredom.
So keep adjusting the challenge. Make sure it's not too easy or too frustrating.
Right. And just keep showing up, even when it feels annoying or draining. That consistency, even through boredom, is what builds mastery. And alongside that, to make sure you're actually improving and not just spinning your wheels, you need reflection.
Reflection and review.
Yeah, absolutely critical for long-term improvement. It's how you become aware of your mistakes, how you figure out how to get better. Think about top athletes, marathoners, swimmers. They don't just practice, they analyze, they take notes, review their performance, look for tiny areas to tweak. Without that reflection, it's easy to make excuses, to not even realize if you're getting better or worse. You need that feedback loop.
Build your own feedback loop. Got it.
Ultimately, changing your behavior, it's not about finding some magic bullet or having superhuman willpower. It's really about being an architect, designing your environment, designing your approach, making the right choices easier, more obvious, more satisfying, and making the wrong choices harder, invisible, and immediately unsatisfying.
It really does come back to that design, doesn't it? How our environment and that immediate feedback are shaping us constantly, whether we realize it or not. So maybe a thought for everyone listening. What's one small thing, just one tweak you could make today? Something to make an unwanted behavior just a little bit harder, add a tiny bit of friction. Or make a desired behavior slightly easier, slightly more rewarding. Because that power to change, it really lies in those small, consistent choices you make starting right now. We really hope this deep dive gives you some practical tools for your own journey of change. If you found these ideas helpful, please do take a second to like, share, or subscribe to the deep dive. It genuinely helps us bring more conversations like this one to you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.